The rest of the story. Most Americans, even most Polish Americans, believed that the Solidarity movement began on the docks of Gdansk. It did not. It began in a glass factory about a mile from town. Now, the names of those first Polish strikers you would probably not recognize. Michael Lafecki, Zbigniew Stefanski, Jan Bogodan, Stanislav Sadowski, 8 of them in all, and yet despite their scant numbers and virtual anonymity, what they did helped change the world. And you'll know that's not an overstatement when you learn the rest of the story. The 8 men had been working in this factory for some years before the trouble started. They'd been relocated from another region, as they were known to have been among the best in the business. They were hard workers as well as skilled as craftsmen, and ironically, they were completely satisfied with their wages and their working conditions, but the problem was the local government was in the process of forming and reforming, and yet as relative newcomers to the area, these 8 factory men would not be permitted to vote in local elections. So one night the workers met. Their alternatives were clear. They could return to their old jobs back home. Certainly they'd been more appreciated there. Or they could stage a walkout. They could cripple this prominent factory and put a real dent in the local economy. The latter was a particularly bold suggestion, mainly because, hear this, there had never been a strike in these parts, ever before. So what might the government's reaction be? There were 2 deciding factors. One, the men knew that they were needed, perhaps even unexpendable, and also there was the principle of the thing, the right to vote. So these 8 Polish workers walked out. Well, local officials understandably were incensed. No, the demand would not be met, so the glass factory stayed closed. But as the days passed, the economic impact in the community became evident. The days became weeks, and then at last the local government caved in. For the first time, all laborers and artisans would be permitted to participate in civic processes, including voting. And as quickly as it had begun, the strike was over. There are a number of reasons that you have forgotten those 8 Polish workers who took the first brave steps on the path to solidarity. But the main reason is their watershed factory strike happened so long ago. You see, those 8 glass blowers, they were the only workers in the plant. In fact, they had built the factory themselves. And yet so essential was their contribution to their community that the English who comprised the government and the vast majority of the people who were governed yielded to the Polish workers' demand of suffrage. And the first strike was a successful one. It's seldom remembered that those 8 Polish immigrants, to whom Captain John Smith gave credit for saving the entire colony, had arrived a dozen years before the Mayflower and had staged the first labor strike in all American history in the glass factory which they had founded in the autumn of 1608, just a mile from a tiny settlement called Jamestown. Now, contemporary historians would have you believe that Polish Lech Wałęsa, the leader of Solidarity, made the most significant contribution to labor unity in that country's history. But he was not the first. Now you know the rest of the story.